All right, good morning. We are in Simin Kuf Chaf Hey. We're up to Sif test. Yeah. Um, that he took a canteen or a flexible bottle is really what the case is. Where it's a canteen more from place to place. It's holding the spout, the top of it. Bein shehaya hanon male o chaser, whether it was full or not. Mutter achavi shayayim misnaded ein derech nisuch b'kach. Even though it's not such a it's not such a stable kli, so therefore, it just because he's walking around with it, he's carrying it, sloshes around. That's not called derech nisuch. Right. Right. And okay. Right. And here, fine. Sif Yud. If he's carrying an open kli, ovo yain, and there's wine in it, but you sell holich acharav, and there's a Jew walking behind it. And there's a waiter, and he's carrying an open bottle, We'll get to a bottle, open kli. Inu chaser. If the kli is chaser, lo sichsechu, and he didn't shake it. Mutter b'shtia, and it's mutter b'shtia. It's also mutter over here. Why? So the Shach says that the case we're talking about over here is the case where you have a wide top, like here. He's carrying a cup like this. He's carrying it around. So he's not a feel sichsechu b'kli because the problem is it depends. That if it's full, there's a chash over here. If it's open, he's going to touch it. Or they don't realize he touches it, whatever. But that's only if it's full. But he won't slosh it around if it's full, because if he does, it spills everywhere. So then he's not going to do that. This is as opposed to Kuf Chaf Daled. We talked about a case where he was carrying a kli, and there he needs to do sichsuch, because over there you're talking about a bottle where the neck of it is a neck which is narrow. So therefore, in Zoch Shash, he's actually going to be able to touch the wine. The only issue is if he would shake it. And then there's a Shash Nisuch. But over here, this case is, that like we said before, it's not derech Nisuch, because why would he go ahead and try to ma'abed some wine? Why would he want to spill wine out onto the floor? If it's full, asr bahana. However, this is a time where it's not completely full. Mali asr bahana shema nagabo. If it's full, so then it's asr bahana. You sell holich b'tzidoi. If he's not walking behind him, but not and he's watching. Afidu male motor. Shiv shelo liga shel Yorenu. Right, and he'll be able to see. So it's mirsas. So he's not, even if it's wide open, it's not gonna. He's not going to. He's going to be careful he didn't touch it. V'im hayanoisei akli b'mot b'shnayim. Let's say he's carrying, it's a heavy kli, and they're carrying it, Moroccan style with the pole. Afilu male, even if it's male, he said halachachar of mutter, because there he's not carrying it in his hand, so therefore we're not worried he's going to go ahead and touch it. If he carries the dli by its handle, it's the same. It's the same din. It's only if he's carrying the kli, like this. He's carrying the kli like this, and it's full. So then we're worried that he's going to stick his hand over and touch it. And again, if it's not full, unless he shakes it, we're not so worried. Again, this is only if the Yisrael helps him, put hang the bucket on the stick, because then while he's hanging it on, he can touch it. Oh, Sharash Echnisa, or he was mashkiach on him that he didn't he didn't touch it at all. Yeah, it's a bucket. This is a bucket.
But if it was covered, there would be no question.
I mean, no question. But a bucket is usually open. So if it's a bucket, so then the same issue. Right. So 1 second. Fine. If you're Aleph, Ovi Kochavim Shenoisei Chavis. I feel like Seifel. He's carrying a barrel of wine even on his shoulder. Ubelechto Yotze Me'ayin Lochutz. And he was going, but it leaked out of the barrel. Shelo B'Kavana. Mutter B'Shtia. If you Mashi Yotze Lochutz, the B'Kocho Shelo B'Kavana Lo goes through. We mentioned this cloud numerous times.
Yeah, but it's always been idea of Acher in the text.
Right. So Kocho. Right. So Kocho. In this case, Kocho Shelo B'Kavana. They weren't goizer. Maga Shelo B'Kavana they were, but Kocho Shelo B'Kavana they weren't gozer. We saw the case also where he threw a kli b'chamaso into the wine. In different cases, right? That was a day davaracher. This is a little more direct, but either way, it's koch. Carrying is nechshav kocho, and so therefore they weren't gozer. Gozer in that case, the shach brings the rashas even if it was already dripping, as long as he didn't by his carrying it, he didn't make it go out more. However, that right, the Shach says the Afal Pike and the Fida Ramah, it's everything's considered lo b'kavana, and lo b'kavana. The Shach says according to the Ramah, we definitely don't have to worry about it. Because it is a davar acher, it's not. It's koicha the davar acher because he's with the barrel. Don't have to worry about it. Kuf chaf vav. Yain shenisar. Hamara yain l'soch kli sheish b'yain over kochavim. Someone's pouring wine into a kli that has wine stam yainam ha'aser b'hana. Nesar kol yain shebekli elyon sherei ha'amud hanitzoik mechaber ben hayayin shebekli. There's this idea of nitzuk chibur, which comes up numerous places, that even though the wine is flowing this way, right? But we say that the wine pouring out is considered a chibur to the wine on top. In many places we're not machmir. But we are machmir, and therefore we say that everything is considered one. It's all considered one, one thing of wine, and therefore asers. Right. Say it's keilu, everything's mixed together. Let's say he poured, but it was nifsak hakiluach. He poured, and he quickly picked it up. So then the wine in the top kli is going to be mutter because it's not like some magical force that goes bad, whatever. It's only if it's attached by the wine. So therefore, we say that the isser travels up, or it's kilu. It's all misarev. I don't know, and I don't know if the svar is because it travels up, or because it's like sofo, like korori labila, like sofo, everything's sof to be misarev until you stop. So maybe I'm not sure if it's like jumping to the future. It's just like okay, this is what's going to happen, or it's because it goes back up. Whatever. It's we'll get into that a bit more when it's a chibur, but al kapanim. A couple of different understandings of how it would work. Beis, how the nitzul chibur, that which we say nitzul chibur, hani mili behefsin muad. That we're paskin because it's a machlokes in the Gemara. That which we paskin nitzul chibur is only hefsin muad. Of a behefsin meruba. You're talking about a whole barrel of wine, and you start pouring and you realize, whatever. So that's gonna be mutter. Haga. Ve'ein chiluk beinim haya harbe yayin bechavis. It doesn't make a difference if there's a lot of wine in the chavis or low. Filu, it's considered, if it's a chavis, it's considered hefsem meruba. Filu yachal amachar lo vikachavim. But let's say you could just sell it. What's the big deal? You can sell it to a goy. Chomashu b'kankan or because mikri. Filu yachal amachar lo vikachavim. Chomashu b'kankan or because mikri hefsem muat. We still say by a chavis, we still machshavit hefsem meruba, and it's going to be mutter. There's an interesting lashon. The Taz says he asks a kasha. He said, "What do you mean? It's going to be worse if he sells it?" We say it's hefsem meruba, so he can drink it. He says, "Wait a second, drinking it is much worse than selling it. How can you say that? Oh, it's better. It's better to go ahead." And to be, we'll be makel. It's not, we'll be makel over here. He shouldn't sell it, and therefore we have some meruba, and therefore he can drink it. But what are you doing over here? So the shach argues, and he says, he says, no, that's not how you view it, because once they said it's hefsem meruba, it's completely mutter. We don't say nitzach chibur at all. So therefore, it's not that you're drinking something where there's a suffix. It's no suffix over here. We paskin, the way we paskin is nitzach chibur is only by hefsem muat. If it's hefsem meruba, even if you change it into a hefsem muat, it doesn't make a difference. And there weren't goyzer in such a thing. There was never a gzera. So therefore, yeah, you could drink it. It's not that we try to weigh one to the other. It's that it's nothing, and therefore you're allowed to drink it. But dafka be yayin nesech. This is the only time about yayin nesech. Well, b'shar yisurim, im yachol amachol lovi kochavim. By other yisurim, chametz, for example, you can sell it to a goy ve'ein bo hefsem meruba. Lo mikri hefsem meruba. In the case where there's a het of hefsem meruba, not by chametz, but in the case of, if you can go ahead and sell it, for example, something in treifos or something or whatever, if you can sell it to a goy, then and knock it down from the level of hefsem meruba to hefsem buat, then you're chayav to do that and take the small loss and not be matter this, because it's vayayin nesach. That's goof of the gzeira. Vayayin nesach anyway. It says like the Ramaz in many places, we're not so mach because we're not so choshesh for actual yayin nesach. So therefore, it's much more kal. So therefore, it would be mutter. Gimel nitzuk bar nitzuk enu chibur. We had this case before, but here it's more of a case of, let's say someone did nitzuk into a wine of a goy, and then took this cup of wine or whatever it was, it's still wine in it, and poured it into Yisrael's, and then poured it into Yisrael's thing. We don't say that it answers it's going to answer the other wine. They don't say that's nitzuk bar nitzuk, because once right, because we saw yotzach ukli acher the kankan, or the case is done. The case is let's say the shafs is a different case. That if he went ahead, because it's the opposite. If he went ahead and he poured into the yain second, someone then poured into his cup. We don't say, even though it was also, we don't say it travels back up into the other kli. That's nitzuk bar nitzuk, and therefore it'd be mutter.
Is A pouring into B and B pouring into C simultaneously?
No, not necessarily. It can be, but not necessarily.
Is burning the factory stuff?
No, because this is also let's say he did this wine's also right now, right? Because it needs to.
So if we say A pours into B, B was the usher, and then now A becomes usher.
Also, right now you want to pour C into A.
You want to pour C into A.
C into A, so you do it's also. So maybe you should travel up and say no, that's not. They weren't goyzer in such a. They weren't goyzer in such a thing. And that's not. Koshkin, simultaneously, whatever. We had before simultaneously. We had the siphon, right? So that we saw also. It's two different. It's two different things. Nitzuk bar nitzuk with no chibur. If he pours from wine into mud or ashpa, into the garbage or makom lichluch, and derech nisuch v'kach. That's not nisuch. He takes it and pours like derech nisuch because he's pouring the wine. So if he pours it derech bizayon, then that's not considered nisuch v'kach. V'kol moter beima sheyatzel l'chutz beima shebifnim. Aval im hay yisrael over kachayim mare letit or la'ashpa. Then he touched he touched the wine that's pouring out. Hakol, the flow. Hakol also, because there, that why do you stick his finger in? Even though it's going to Ibu, okay, he's meshugana, but Akopanim, that would be derech nisuch, and therefore it would be it would be fine. It would be also sorry. Hey. Hamara yain l'soch kli she'ovek l'chavim. Someone who pours wine into a kli of a goy, shlo hudach. It wasn't washed out. Ve'ein bo mashka tofeach, and there's no. It wasn't washed out, but it's dry. It's like the stuff dried in it. Esh irabo also b'shtia. Anything that goes into the kli is going to be also b'shtia. Ve'esh she'ira mimenu. Motor afilu b'shtia, but that which he pours out is motor afilu b'shtia, because 1 second, since we say that maker whatever that what's clearly the case over here. Right. Because even though this wine becomes, even though he poured wine in, it's also b'shtia. But there we don't say nitzuch chibur by something which is also b'shtia. Only something which is also b'hana. So if it's mamash, it's tamyenam. So that's going to be also b'hana. But now you have a case of something which is only also b'shtia, and you pour from that into something else. We don't say nitzuch chibur. Or you pour into that. You would pour into that. It wouldn't go back up into the kli. Something like that.
What's the pronouns here? The menu.
Yeah.
The one it's really saying the bottle you're pouring from doesn't become usher. I'll say it differently because I didn't say it clearly. The case is you're pouring into this empty dry barrel, so the wine that goes into the barrel is definitely usher. But the wine in your bottle is not going to be usher because of nitzuk, because it's only usher b'shtia.
So what's left?
Right. Right. That which is left in the bottle above. Right. Hagav im yeshbo kedei lahatfiach. No. If it's fact that it's dry, you pour wine in there. That wine's going to be also. That's also because there's no bittul. Wasn't washed out. And by yain nesach we're going to answer it. We'll get to those halachas later. Yeah, there is, but if it depends when you come about, we'll get into that. But there's no bittul over here, so therefore, even if you didn't wash out the kli, you didn't do iru milu ve'irui, you didn't fill it up and wash it out, then whatever, even if it's dried up, it's gonna answer the wine b'shtia, but there's no nitzuk. Agav im yesh bo kedei lahatfiach also b'nitzuk. Even if it's still moist, the Ramaz Machmer. So if it's still even if it's not tafeach amanas latfiach, it's not moist enough to wet something else, but it's not completely dry, then it will also be nitzuk. Miu eno oisa yoisa meilu hayam u'urav bo imustam yena batul b'shishim. That's what you mentioned, that it's not going to answer more than what would be ki'ilu it was ma'urav. So therefore, if you have shishim in the kli above, it's going to be with the nitzuk will be batul b'shishim. Let's say he has a cup of wine in a barrel, so whatever goes up, even though it goes up, nitzuk, it will be batul b'shishim, like any other. Just because we look at it, ki'ilu, it's all mixed together. So if the answer is this much and it was 60, so then it's going to be mutter. Vav kankan yain sheish bo kiton shomayim. It has some water in it. Ve'ira mimenu l'soich. Tzluchis sheish bo yain shel v'kochavim. right? You have a wine bottle that has water, and you pour it into a cup of stam yaino. Im yesh b'mayim shel kankan levatel yain shebetzuchis motor. If there's enough water in the kankan to mevatel or to dilute it, because we're going to get into the bittul whether it's dilution or whether you dilute it or whatever by water does dilute it, then it's mutter. B'shir bittul hayne shahayamayim shishim kenegdoi. Right in the command. Kuflamadal, it's if hey, there it discusses more. Can you just go by 1/6, which is dilution? But upon the mechaber passings, you need to have shishim kenegdo. Wine itself, we'll have to get into that also. Whether there's bittul by wine itself, it's mimino, whatever. But the most of the shishim, I don't know what the mechaber holds. Lachapanim for water. Lachapanim for water. It definitely is. It will be mevatel.
This kankan yain, does it have any wine in it? It's only water?
Yeah, why does it have to be dafka kankan yain?
Yeah.
Is it kankan and a ketone and is it floating in the wine?
No. Kankan is about kankan is
Bottle that only has water in it right now?
he filled it with water. Right.
What do ketones show?
Does that measure?
Kankan yashish keton has like a certain measurement. 1 second. I guess it has a bit of wine. The Taz says the hayayin enu mevatel hayayin ha'isser. The wine which was left, the wine which was left inside, I guess, is not enough to mevatel, but the mayim is enough to mevatel. Meaning it's kilo. There's been you have two. It's let's say you have a tarovis for you. It gets complicated because as you pour water into wine, it can become bottle. It's not like you have a case of you have two isurim. You have like you have one isur, one thing is mimino min b'shay and one's eno mino. So we say by tarevis generally we say salach minas minoi umavato. We say we put aside the minas mino and we say the eno mino is going to mavato the isur. Here.
Don't understand. What's the case?
The case is you have a wine bottle when you put some water in.
There's no wine in it?
It's a bit of wine, whatever.
So there's drops of wine.
Drops of wine.
They're not separate, they're mixed together.
Mixed together. So, so the water is anomino with the wine. So when the nitzuk goes, when nitzuk goes up, so there's enough water to mevatel, the wine. But there's not enough yain. So the question is how do you look at it? Is it wine and it's mimino and it's not bottle, or you look at the water? That's the question over here, and the answer is you look at the water. Taz is anyway where we would be makel, but because of dilution. But yes, we'll get to kuflam adalid. Anyway.
Ketone here means it's shear.
Yeah, it's a certain shear. It's some water. Yeah, it's a bit late. We'll finish Zion very quickly. Might as well finish the onion. Gas Yoreh minu labor. The gas where the wine is pouring into the bor. V'nagav v'kachayim v'kiluach hayored, and the goy touches the flow which is pouring down. Im yesh berchatzanim v'zagim v'anavim shebegas shishim keneged hakiluach. Do we say nitzuk over here? If all the mixture in the gas is shishim neged kiluach, l'nesar masher begas, we don't say nitzuk going back up to asa the gas. Aga zarmin and salak esminoi kilu eno. We don't look at the wine. V'she'eno mina rabba alav mavatlo. We look at the wine which wasn't separated, right? The wine which is still mixed with charsanim v'zagin doesn't become yain nesech. And we look at that, kilu, it's bevato, the wine which started to flow, which can become yain nesach. Shimei yain lo nispedu lo avraleim yubeis chaydesh. They weren't like made into mead. They weren't filled with wine. There wasn't yubeis chaydesh. Mikri mimamino im yayim that is called. It has the same din as wine mamish, and it doesn't have a din of something different. Wasn't sure we get this right. Okay.